Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Today's show is an interesting one. If you're not on the YouTube version, if you're listening to audio only, I highly encourage that you go check out the YouTube version because I've actually got the finishing of the King of the Hammers UTV race happening right now. Something pretty interesting happened today. Let me see if I can find the official times here. King of the Hammers, 2021. Excuse the clicking. Uh, but essentially, we have a new champion as the name of Kyle Cheney. I've actually reached out to Kyle trying to get him on the show. I had a scheduled interview with him last week, but just getting ready for KOH fell through the cracks, and Baby Life fell through the cracks as well. So we'll get Kyle actually on here sooner rather than later. First place, Kyle Cheney. Second place, Cody Miller. And then third place, Phil Blurton. Phil Blurton was my pick to win. So very interesting to see that he actually landed up there. We had our very own East Coast superstar, Jay Shaw, finish in fifth place, I believe. And if this historically goes back and you're listening to this later when all the results are out, this is literally a few hours after the first place finisher has come out. All of the placings are unofficial except for first and second place right now, and possibly even third. But this was a really entertaining race. I think that the top five today, including Phil Blurton, Ronnie Anderson, both the Miller brothers, Jay Shaw, there was about five or six guys that were really running the pack all day long. Very interesting that they all were in Can-Ams except for Ronnie Anderson. Ronnie Anderson actually just released his Pro XP build a couple days before King of the Hammers came out. And I thought it was pretty interesting because that car seemed way faster. That Pro XP he has seemed way faster than anything any of the other Polaris guys had out there. And I'm actually watching a Polaris guy on screen right now. Uh, I have questions. I have questions. I have, just general thoughts after the race was all said and done. Before we do that, again, congratulations to the winners. But also, congratulations to Anthony Yant to be the first one to complete King of the Hammers in a one-seat chassis on the UTV side, or factory one-seat chassis. I'm not sure if someone has done it before in a modified vehicle in the UTV class, but Anthony Yant finishes King of the Hammers UTV race, does an excellent job in the machine that I actually owned for a brief time too, which is really cool to see that machine kind of come through. And I've driven it, I've raced it, had a great time racing it. It's a really sturdy machine, and he's kind of changed everything around to be successful at King of the Hammers. And I'm really excited to see him finish. I think that that's a big deal. And also Polaris, we were able to help Polaris and Anthony get connected too. So shout out to Polaris. And now to instantly change the tone of the message. So the top three, four, five, I think Ronnie Anderson was in fourth or fifth position. But I think that this is a very large statement for Can-Am. It's not concerning by any means, but all of us have heard the rumors of the Polaris Pro XPR, and I think that we're asking, me as a race fan, as someone who really keeps up with the sport because of the podcast, at what point does Polaris think that it can compete? At what point are they going to try and come back after this UTV market? Because it's very obvious to me that, Can-Am has the remedy figured out, the speed in the desert, the maneuverability in the rocks, especially because, almost, I think four out of the top five, maybe, they were running 35-inch tall tires on their Can-Am X3s, the exclusion being, well, outside of Ronnie, but the exclusion being Jay Shaw, who I think was actually just running a 32-inch tall Maxxis. Either way, the cars are running huge tires, have big power, and they really seem to have found the remedy. And the yellow and black Can-Am factory team that came out really put a show on. I think Dustin Battle Axe Jones had some really unfortunate stuff right out of the gate. He's one of the factory Can-Am drivers. I think on lap one, he said he had burned a belt, lost two rear axles, and also had a flat. So it's kind of one of those things where it was just a really bad day for him. But all that being said, it's a really good day for Can-Am across the board. Now, with the Pro XPR that's just floating out there, I think that, the rumor is that it's a 72-inch wide machine with a Polaris slingshot engine in there. I personally, that disqualifies them from the UTV race. And it really seems like Polaris, they disqualifies them because of the size of the engine being over 1,000 cc's and some other things involving that. It doesn't fit the spec of a UTV anymore. So it's very interesting. It feels almost as if Polaris has given up to some degree. I could be completely wrong in that they're sitting on some new machine and or some new version of the Pro XP. I don't think that a 72-inch Pro XP with the same, everything's the same but the width. I don't think that that wins. I don't think that even comes close. I think it's going to be a redesign of the chassis. The Pro XP is a really great machine, but if you're coming to win this King of the Hammers race, because when I interviewed Brett from Polaris, he basically said our sights are set on King of the Hammers, and to be honest, I mean that was a kind of a poor showing for Polaris today. I was a little, I watched them qualify, and most of the top guys were running Can-Ams, but it was pretty it's just kind of confusing because they really didn't shine well. I mean, I'm on screen right now. If you're watching the YouTube, there are 3 Polaris razors broken down in what seems to be, if I'm not mistaken, that's Bender Alley, I think is the name of it. And, those are the locations where the Polaris razor is really supposed to shine. It's the rock sections that took a lot of these razors out. Now, I'll give you this: a lot of the desert guys who had really good success, they seem to win in the desert and survive in the rocks on the Can-Am side. Really, I mean, I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch these cars taking, a few minutes off the line, hauling through the desert, but it's literally like watching an action movie. You had 2 cars, Jay Shaw and Cody Miller, I think, just neck and neck, back and forth, absolutely hauling the mail and really like a dogfight up there in front in the desert. They were easily doing 70, 70 plus miles an hour. So I'm just at this point, you have to make a choice. Is King of the Hammers a desert race with a rock lap, or is it the rocks? Is it some desert and then you run the hammers? Because I think that this UTV course overall was hard. I think they're saying the attrition rate right now, there was 93 machines that left the starting line, and as of 4:30 p.m. Central Time, which puts it at 6.5 hours after it started, 20 machines have crossed the line, and I would argue a majority of them have been Can-Am. Um, you know, as you look at Ultra 4 as a racer, a spectator, a manufacturer, if I'm Polaris, I'm going, okay, Can-Am's making up all this ground. They're just obliterating people in the desert. No other machine seems to hold a candle to it in the desert, you know, and again, can run a big enough tire to thrive and coast through the rocks. I mean, they're super successful. They're not like, barely hanging on by a thread through this rock section, but they're getting past it. And apparently they're doing better because I've seen, like I just mentioned, 3 Polarises broke down in that rock section as well. Now, that's a choice that Polaris has to make. Are we going to build a car that thrives in the desert, survives in the rocks? Which seems to be the opposite of what Polaris's current machines are built for. The Polaris machine is a rock hungry monster and survives in the desert, in my opinion, especially when compared to the Can-Am. I mean, let's be honest. If you're going to put a Can-Am and a Polaris machine out there, it's just not the same. But here's my real beef. And, I've had Polaris on this show before. I've had Polaris. I've talked a lot to them. I would love, I've run a Polaris. I would love to tell you guys that I have some kind of deal with them and they give me machines or they give me discount on machines because that's what everybody wants. You want to be in the industry and you want to get a free machine, and that's one of the goals, right? But in this case here, we're in an interesting place because if I were to go buy a new machine today, it would be a Can-Am without a doubt, regardless of the application. Um, it's just East Coast, we don't have the real room to open it up like they do in the West Coast. But it's just hard to deny what you see. Now, I'll say this too, that I saw more broken axles today from Can-Ams than I ever have, and I saw some people had really poor days, but it seemed like a lot more Polaris people had really poor days as well. And let me also point this too. The reason I made my statement about Polaris not sponsoring or having anything to do with this show is because I really think Polaris Factory on the UTV side has made some just massive mistakes on who their factory team drivers are. So no disrespect to any of the current factory team drivers. I think the Guthries are great investments that come out here and they're King of the Hammers champions. Both of them, senior and junior, have both won this race before. The Shannon Campbell and the Campbell squad, I know that they're factory drivers, and Shannon Campbell's not even running a chassis, a stock chassis anymore. He built a custom one. I'm not sure if they're still factory drivers. I can likely go and check that now, but him running a custom chassis probably tells me that he's not. Um, it's just, and if he is, that's insane, and it kind of frustrates me a little bit because we have so many guys out here on the East Coast that would love to have those sponsorships, but it's just not there. So I'm actually pulling up the list here: factory racing, and then racer lineups. Now there's some other people. It really seems like Razor wants to give people who are really popular in name machines and factory driver positions, but maybe who aren't UTV drivers. And especially at King of the Hammers, I feel like they really misplaced um, a lot of their dollars. I'll say it like that. Guthrie Jr. is a factory driver. Let's see, Guthrie Senior, and then Waylon Campbell and Shannon Campbell. So in Bailey. So I was right. Bailey, or excuse me, Shannon, who is not even running a Polaris chassis anymore, is a factory driver. And you know, there was factory support for a number of guys. Ronnie Anderson, which obviously he did the best today out of everybody. But like Sarah Price, I don't foresee her. I know she's a great desert racer, but there's so much more to this. And I think even in watching some of her, pre-running videos, it was kind of like, like I don't think it's going to be this year. And to me, it really feels like Polaris invests money in people who are not the best for the team and maybe sound good at a boardroom meeting, but don't give you the results that the drivers like Can-Am will. I mean, look at the list of Can-Am drivers: Cody and Hunter Miller, short course gods; Phil Blurton, a desert racing genius. You have a slew of these guys who are not kind of token factory drivers. You have people who are the best of the best, always the best of the best, and in the top tier. And I really just don't think that Polaris does that correctly. It's kind of frustrating, especially when you see guys from the East Coast come out, put everything on the line. Anthony Yant, it was a terrible struggle for him to get factory support. Michael Lee, I know, gets factory support, and he's out there running on but like not like a shoestring budget by any means, but he doesn't have legitimate factory team support, and he's going to he's likely to finish the race today, and half of the other team isn't even going to finish the race. So it's just, I think that their dollars and factory drivers are really misspent. And as far as the machine goes, if the right driver, I would love to say that like the Can-Am machine is this much better than the Pro XP. Ronnie Anderson showed us that it's definitely comparable. Cole Clark shows us all the time that it's definitely a comparable machine to an X3. I just don't think the factory team has the right drivers in there, and I think the people that are better drivers don't get the support to be able to run the race program that they need to run to be the most successful. So there's my piece on machines. In regards to this race course, again, what's more important, desert or rock trails? They ran a lot of hard rock trails this year, And like the 1% of success people here, the 1%ers killed it. They finished the race in under 4 hours. It was 3 and some change, and that's unheard of for a super hard UTV course. And I've seen a lot of people talk about, yeah, well, they're going to run the 4400, and if they finish the 4400, blah blah blah, like it'll be a bigger deal, but they're not going to do that because of King's Graveyard. I just think that I think you guys are missing it. Like the machines that are doing well, the race programs that are doing well, I feel like King of the Hammers shouldn't be being finished in 3 hours. I think you'd have to add a third lap, or you're going to have to integrate, some other challenge to this, which makes this race a little harder because, there's such a gap between, let's just say this, like there's a gap between Can-Am factory supported teams and there's a gap between the everyman who comes out and does it. The Can-Am factory teams, because of the support they have, they went out and blew the brakes off this race. And I don't know if there needs to be an equalizer or anything like that, but I think that it's a really interesting situation where you have a cluster of guys who just blow the smoke off this race. And maybe it's machine, maybe it's driver, but these are just some of the thoughts that I've been thinking about as I've been watching the race today. I think Polaris really let me down, in my opinion. I was a little disappointed to see, they had drivers going out for nothing. It seemed like they had drivers, just everyone's broken. Maybe factory support wasn't what it needed to be. And then to watch Can-Am, I mean, watching the Can-Am machines out there was like watching a Batmobile fly through the city of Gotham. It was crazy and it was intense and it was powerful. And a lot of those guys had very few errors all day. And Kyle Chaney had a flawless victory with no errors, no flat tires, no belts, no nothing. So hats off to him. It was a great day. I'm a big fan of the race, as always. All of my critiques that I just said are backhanded by the fact that I loved watching it today. I can't wait for the 4400 class, and I also can't wait to see what the UTVs do in the 4400 race as well. I think we're in an interesting spot in terms of this race. I think that everybody wants King of the Hammers to be a race that you don't finish, but at the same token, like I do think that, or I don't want to say that you don't finish, but like few finish. It's supposed to be the finishing accomplishment is supposed to be a bigger deal. And I think that more people are finishing because machines are better, prep's better, support's better, all those things. But it feels weird to see a team, 3, 4, 5 guys come in and smash it in under 4 hours. So just food for thought. I'm not complaining. I'm just interested. I'm interested to know what you guys think. I'm interested to hear what you guys thought of the race. Was it too easy, too hard? Is there a difference between Can-Am X3? Is there a difference between Razor? It's a very interesting topic, and I think we're in an interesting time. I'm excited to watch some East Coast racing where it's a little bit of a different turnout, but also I want to say congratulations to Anthony Yant again. What an awesome guy to get out there, finish in the RS1. And again, congratulations to Kyle Chaney, Cody Miller, Phil Blurton, and congratulations to our very own Jay Shaw. I thought it was pretty interesting. Let me know if you guys have feedback. It'd be great. So without further ado, guys, thanks. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the YouTube and on Apple Podcast. If you enjoy the show, leave us a review. Thanks, everybody.